Supremums and infimums obey some pretty nice algebraic properties. For example, if S is a non-empty subset of the reals that's bounded above, then certainly it has a supremum by the completeness axiom. Then we could take a real number A and define this new set A plus S, whose elements are just the elements of S, but with A added to them, so they've all been increased by A. Then in fact, the supremum of this new set, A plus S, is just A plus the supremum of S as it originally was, and we'll prove this today. Now, of course, this expression on the left, supremum of A plus S, we know exists, because S is non-empty and bounded above, so by definition, A plus S will also be non-empty and bounded above. So this does exist, and we just need to show that, in fact, it equals this. We'll begin by naming the supremum of S. Let's call it alpha. Again, this exists by the completeness axiom. Then we know that for all elements x of S, they must be less than or equal to alpha by definition, because alpha is the supremum of S. It's the least upper bound. Of course, we can add a to both sides of this inequality then to obtain that x plus a is less than or equal to alpha plus a. And thus we see that alpha plus a is an upper bound of the set a plus s. This is because x is an arbitrary element of S, so x plus a is an arbitrary element of the set a plus s simply by definition. Hence, we've shown that alpha plus a is an upper bound of a plus s, and so the supremum of a plus s has to be less than or equal to alpha plus a. This is because the supremum of a plus s is by definition the least upper bound of a plus s. Since we've shown that alpha plus a is an upper bound of a plus s, it has to be at least as big as the least upper bound of a plus s. All that remains for us to do is to show that alpha plus a is also greater than or equal to the least upper bound. Hence, it itself will have to be the least upper bound. So now we're going to let beta be an arbitrary upper bound of a plus s. Remember, we already showed that alpha plus a was an upper bound of a plus s, but we're just letting beta be an arbitrary upper bound of a plus s. Of course, this means that a plus x is less than or equal to beta for all x in S. Again, a plus x by definition is just an arbitrary element of a plus s. So if beta is an upper bound of a plus s, then this arbitrary element in the set has to be less than or equal to beta. Then, subtracting a on both sides, we have that x is less than or equal to beta minus a for all x in S. This means that beta minus a is in fact an upper bound of S, since it's greater than or equal to every element of S. Now, the supremum of S we said is alpha. So if beta minus a is an upper bound of S, it has to be at least as big as the supremum of S, which is alpha. So then, adding a to both sides, we have that alpha plus a is less than or equal to beta. But remember, beta was just an arbitrary upper bound of a plus s. Hence, we may replace it with the least upper bound, the supremum. Doing that replacement, we then have that alpha plus a is less than or equal to the supremum of a plus s. We've now shown that alpha plus a is both greater than or equal to and less than or equal to the supremum of a plus s, and thus it must be that the supremum of a plus s is equal to a plus alpha, where alpha is the supremum of S, and thus the result is established. So if we take a set that has a supremum and then increase every element of the set by some number a, then the supremum of that new set is actually just the original supremum, also increased by a. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and be sure to check out my real analysis course and real analysis exercises playlists in the description for more.